What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys more about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but I want to talk to you guys about the characters that I feel like could still be returning from the past Xenoblade games of Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now it's already been confirmed from Nintendo themselves that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to tie together the futures depicted in the endings of Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And so because of that, it's pretty likely that there's going to be some returning characters from both of these games that are going to be inside of Xenoblade 3, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about in this video. I want to talk to you guys about the characters from both of these games that could potentially still be alive and around inside of Xenoblade 3, and the characters who have most likely unfortunately passed away. Now this video will have spoilers about why these characters could potentially still be alive, so I really recommend watching this video after you've played Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, Torn of the Golden Country, and Future Connected. That way you don't have to worry about any of these spoilers, but if you don't care so much about these spoilers and just want to know which characters could still be around, you can definitely keep watching. Now the first half of this video will be about characters from Xenoblade 1, and then the second half will be about characters from Xenoblade 2. Now both of these are going to have 3 sections, so the first one will be about the characters who have unfortunately passed away, the second one will be about the characters who could potentially still be alive, and then the third one will be about the characters who definitely have the highest chance of still being around. Now there is one key piece of information that we're missing that could really help us to determine which characters could still be around in Xenoblade 3, and that is what exactly is the time skip difference from the endings of Xenoblade 1 and 2 to the plot of Xenoblade 3. Now it's really after learning this information that we could easily answer which characters could still be alive, because if it's only like a difference of 20 to 30 years, then that means a lot of characters from the previous games could potentially still be around, but if it's something like 500 years later after Xenoblade 1 and 2, then of course a lot more characters are probably not going to be around, so we don't have the exact number, and I don't think they're probably going to tell us until we play the games for ourselves. So a lot of this is just going to be speculation, but if you do want a kind of vague indicator for how much time could have potentially gone by, the Xenoblade 3 leak that pretty much got everything correct about this game and talked about how there's going to be returning characters and how the game is close to completion and how there's going to be multiple characters in terms of the combat, they pretty much got a lot of that stuff correct. And one of the things that it did mention is that Xenoblade 3 takes place in the far-flung future of the endings of Xenoblade 1 and 2, so it doesn't really give us an exact number, but the far-flung future could mean that potentially a lot of time has gone by. Alright, so in terms of Xenoblade 1 characters, if this game does take place like hundreds of years into the future of Xenoblade 1 and 2's endings, the characters who are most likely just normal Hams, which are kind of like the humans of that game, are probably not going to be around, so unfortunately no Rein time inside of Xenoblade 3, no Dunban, no Sharla, I don't think Juju or Otharon could still be around either, but if this game does take place only a couple years later, then maybe it's possible that like Juju could be an adult now, or Sharla could be like a grandmother, Rein could be like an old grandfather or something. That's possible, but once again, we don't have the exact time frame, so it's really hard to kind of know for sure. Now in terms of Xenoblade 1 characters who could potentially still be around, the first one that I've got here is of course Shulk, and I know that Shulk is just an ordinary Hams, but as the protagonist of Xenoblade 1, and basically the person who's kind of responsible for creating this entire new world at the end of that game, I do think that it's possible that maybe Alves could have done something to still keep Shulk alive all this time, because they're basically bonded together like an Aegis and a driver in the first place, so I do think that it's very possible that maybe somehow Shulk could still be around in the game. Now Fiora could also be another character who could be alive still in Xenoblade 3, and the reason for that is of course in Xenoblade 1's story, Fiora basically turns into a machine and has the body of a machina for like the entire second half of the game. However, we know at the very ending of Xenoblade 1, she basically gets her Hams body back, but we don't know exactly for sure if this means that she's just an actual Hams again, or if she just has a Hams body but could still be Machina, and if that's the case, Machina have extremely long lives, so she could very well be able to survive for a couple thousand years and still be around in Xenoblade 3. Now I also put Riki, Kino, and Nene here, and I don't think they've ever really talked about what the lifespan for a Nopon is. If that information is out there and you guys know it, you can definitely comment down below and let me know, but I don't think they've ever really talked about how long Nopon can live for, so maybe it's possible that Riki, Kino, and Nene could have lived all these years, and it's still possible for them to be around during this time. Maybe like Kino and Nene have grown up and they're like full adults now, and Riki's like a very old kind of grandpa type of Nopon. That would be kind of really funny and kind of cute to to see, but I don't know, I think it's very possible. The Nopon Archsage that we see like always appearing in challenge mode, if we actually look at his age, it comes up as 9999, which is really kind of funny, but maybe it's possible that this Nopon Archsage could have had like some sort of secret about how he's able to live for so long, and he could give that to the other Nopon. Now the last two characters that I have that could potentially still be around are the High Entia from Future Connected. So the first one that we have is Galgar, and then the other one is Maxis. Both of these were characters in Future Connected, and they're both High Entia, and because of how the High Entia do age a little differently, I think it's very possible that maybe these characters could somehow still be alive inside of Xenoblade 3. Alright, but now for the Xenoblade 1 characters, which are definitely still going to be alive. The first one that we have here is, of course, Melia. So Melia was actually confirmed by Nintendo themselves when they accidentally updated the captions. They said that the Queen of Kiev is in fact Melia herself, so Melia is definitely still going to be around. But the other characters that I also think from Xenoblade 1 could still be alive are definitely pretty much all of the Machina characters. Now, if you don't know, the Machina race inside of Xenoblade 1 have insanely long lives, so they can live for like thousands of years, and that pretty much means that all of the important Machina characters can still be around for sure inside of Xenoblade 3. I know that Mikko was basically said to have lived for like 6,000 years, so it's very possible that he could still be around. Linata was like the doctor who was around in terms of like the Machina village. She could definitely still be around. Vinaya was of course the one who helped us with Egil and Egil's sister, so she could definitely still be alive as well inside of Xenoblade 3. And then there was also a Machina character who appears inside of Future Connected, and his name was Radzim, so it's very possible that he's still going to be alive in Xenoblade 3 also. Now, in terms of non-Machina characters, of course the High Entia characters will still be alive, so we saw that Melia is still going to be around in Xenoblade 3, but that also means that Tyrea is probably going to be alive as well, and I would love to see an adult time-skip Tyrea design. I think that would be super awesome. I did like her a lot inside of Xenoblade 1, and I really hope that this time she's actually playable, because that was a very missed opportunity in Future Connected, so I'd be very happy to see her again. And then also the little kid Teal'c that she was with inside of Future Connected, it's very possible that Teal'c could have grown up, and we could see like an adult Teal'c inside of Xenoblade 3. And then of course the last Xenoblade 1 character who can definitely still appear inside of Xenoblade 3 is my personal favorite character, Alves. I think that it's very possible that Alves could still be alive inside of Xenoblade 3, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. I actually talked about that a lot inside of my Xenoblade 3 story video, so if you haven't seen that video, there should be a little eye up in the corner right now. You can definitely go ahead and click on that if you want to go and watch that video, but I'll also put it in the outro if you want to go and watch it after you're done watching this one. But of course, with the ending from Xenoblade 1, Alves basically creating this entire new world that Shulk envisions, we don't really know exactly what happens to Alves after. He kind of just disappears, and we don't really know exactly where he went or what he did, so I do think that it's very possible that Alves could return inside of Xenoblade 3, and especially with that change that they made from his necklace, I definitely don't think that they just did this if he wasn't ever going to have any type of importance again, so I definitely do think that it's very likely that we're going to see him. Alright, but now moving into Xenoblade 2, the Xenoblade 2 characters, which I do think are unfortunately not going to be there, are probably Morag and Tora. So Morag, I'm pretty sure she's just like a normal, ordinary human, and if that's the case, then if this game takes place too far into the future, she very well could have just passed away, like Dunban and Ryan and Charla and some of the other characters like that. And then for Tora, once again, we don't really know exactly how the Nopon live and their lifespan, so maybe Tora could still be around, but maybe not, we don't really know. Now in terms of characters who could potentially still be around, like with Shulk, I've got Rex here, and I think it's very possible, like how Shulk has Alves, maybe Rex, because of Numa and the relationship they have, Numa could still keep Rex alive, and that would be just really insane if both Shulk and Rex are in this game, and they both have like adult time skip designs, and we can actually see Noah and his friends like meet them in the story somehow. I think it would be really insane. It's very, very unlikely. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would just be really insane if that actually does happen and it's canon, instead of all of them just meeting in a challenge area where it's not canon. Now, as for other Xenoblade 2 characters who could potentially still be around, I've got Zeke listed here, and the reason for that is because, of course, in the story, it's mentioned that Zeke is actually a blade eater, and he's actually had parts of Pandoria, his blade, put into his human body, and so because of that, and maybe kind of the bond and relationship that they have, it's possible that because of that, maybe Zeke can actually live for a longer time. And we also kind of did see that with Mikhail, and how Mikhail was basically just a normal human inside of Torna, but because he does become a blade eater, he's able to survive for the past 500 years and get to see Mithra and everyone again inside of the main game of Xenoblade 2, so maybe it's also possible that Zeke could have survived for a really long time as well. Now I also have Van Damme and the Architect here, and you might be wondering how exactly these characters could still be alive, and for that I really just talked about it mainly in my Xenoblade 3 story video, so I really just recommend checking out that video because it's kind of in depth and I don't really want to go into all of that in this video because it would just make this video like 10 minutes longer. So if you really want to learn about how these characters could potentially still be alive inside of Xenoblade 3, definitely go check out that video. And then the last character that I have who could potentially still be alive in Xenoblade 3 is actually a character from Torna, and this is a character that a lot of people forget about, and it's just a really weird character, and to be honest, it's actually one of the things that I dislike about Torna is kind of the way that they handled this character, and that is this character Stanif. So Stanif is a character who only appears in Torna, and he's kind of like this really mysterious-like character who's kind of responsible for discovering a lot of the stuff between like Flesh Eater technology. But what's so weird about this character is that he's clearly Indoline, which would mean that he's able to live for an extremely long amount of time, and he could still be around inside of base game Xenoblade 2, just like how Amalta survived from Torna all the way up until the main game 2, but we don't see him at all inside of Xenoblade 2. We have no idea where this character went, what he did, and I really do kind of find that kind of weird because he's definitely still alive. We even see him walk by during the credits at the ending of Torna, and because Indoline lived for such a long time, he very well could still be alive, so it would be really insane if somehow this character does return inside of Xenoblade 3. It would just be kind of crazy. Now, in terms of Xenoblade 2 characters who could still be alive inside of Xenoblade 3, there's definitely a couple of them because of the way that the game works, and so of course the first one that we have here is Nia, and we definitely did see Nia inside of the first trailer, no doubt about it. That core crystal, the way her design is, she's definitely going to be here, so it makes a lot of sense, and of course Nia being a flesh eater, it definitely makes a lot of sense that she would probably still have all of her memories, and that she probably never like returned to a core crystal or anything like that, and so because of that, it's also very likely that because Nia is still around, we could also see Dromark still inside of Xenoblade 3 also, so maybe Dromark and Nia are still together, and we could see like a really cool design for Dromark also. I think that it's very possible. And then because of that, the other Blade characters could very well still be alive. It's going to be kind of sad because they're probably going to be bonded to a new driver now, but it's also very possible that we could still see them because of that. So like Bridget and Aegeon, for example, are known as like the Jewels of Mor Ardain. So if there is like a new kind of Inquisitor or like a new Emperor or something, then we could see those two Blades be bonded to a new character if Morag isn't around anymore. So it would be kind of sad, but we would be able to recognize them. So that could definitely be there. Poppy could still be around as well. And it would be really kind of sad if they actually remembered this thing that they did with Poppy, where they made this promise with Mithra and Poppy inside of Chapter 8, where Mithra basically said that if Poppy looks like she's ever going to destroy the world, that Mithra would destroy her. That would be kind of really sad if they do decide to bring this into the game, but I think that it's also just very possible that maybe even if Tora still isn't around, Poppy could still be around somewhere and we could find her and she could talk about her master pawn and how she remembers things with Tora and stuff. I think it's also very likely. Now I also have Gramps listed here, so of course as a Titan, he has an extremely long life, so it's very possible that he could still be alive in Xenoblade 3. And finally, the last Xenoblade 2 characters that I have here are of course the Aegises, so Numa, Pyra, Mithra, even Malos. I think that all of them definitely have the chance of returning inside of Xenoblade 3. With the way that Aegises work, I definitely think that it's just pretty likely that all of these can return, and they can definitely still be a part of the story, especially because of how they're Aegises, like with Alves. I think that it's very possible that because of how everything works, they can definitely return for no reason, and it will definitely make a lot of sense. So we definitely did see that. I mean, even with Malos, like he disappeared towards the end of Xenoblade 2, but we don't exactly know what happened, and then we already saw Pyra and Mithra at the end of Xenoblade 2, so I think it's very possible that the Aegises can all be inside of Xenoblade 3. And so yeah, there you go guys, those are pretty much all of the characters who have the potential to return or not return inside of Xenoblade 3. If you guys enjoyed this video, then definitely be sure to click that like button and also comment down below and let me know what you guys think of all this. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think that there's other characters who could return or not return? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to have some more Xenoblade content in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at @Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.